Utterly irresistible. Utterly irresistible. Impossible to resist because of attractiveness. She gave me one of those utterly irresistible smiles, and I just had to agree. The vacation was so cheap that it seemed utterly irresistible to the tour lovers. Heavily influenced. Heavily influenced. Ability to have a strong effect on people. This shows how people are heavily influenced by internet advertisements. Public opinion is heavily influenced by the small elite who control the media. Absolutely amazed. Absolutely amazed. Feeling or showing great surprise or wonder. Use this formula for a week and you will be absolutely amazed by its result. Once you begin exploring, you'll be absolutely amazed at what you can find. Conveniently located. Conveniently located. A place that is near or easy to get. The hotels are conveniently located just a few minutes from the station. The financial aid office is conveniently located in the admissions center. Reasonably priced. Reasonably priced. Products that are available at a fair price. The hotel offers reasonably priced accommodations for budget travelers. The Pullman train tickets were reasonably priced for the quality of service. Categorically denied. Categorically denied. Deny having anything to do with it. The media categorically denied all responsibility for the current rumors. A detailed explanation of the reason why your claim was categorically denied. Hotly debated. Hotly debated. Discussing in a lively or angry manner. Religion has been a hotly debated issue in modern social conversations. The extinction of animals has been a hotly debated issue and remains unsettled. Deeply rooted. Deeply rooted. Firmly implanted or established. Racism is a deeply rooted prejudice that has existed for thousands of years. They arise from a deeply rooted philosophy and are a matter of political will. Long anticipated. Long anticipated. The excitement of waiting for something to happen. In 1969, humans achieved the long-anticipated goal of landing on the moon. It is long anticipated that the research will have different practical applications. Deadly serious. Deadly serious. Absolutely serious, and is not joking. The United States had been deadly serious in its threat of military action. The symptoms of the new disease can be uncomfortable and deadly serious. Highly unusual. Highly unusual. Different from what is usual or normal. There has been some highly unusual variance in temperature this month. Ladies and gentlemen, the human rights situation in Egypt is highly unusual. Heavily armed. Heavily armed. Carrying a lot of dangerous weapons. Concrete barriers and heavily armed police protected it from protesters. These men are heavily armed and dangerous and should not be approached. Perfectly balanced. Perfectly balanced. A state where things are of equal weight. One group of students gave a perfectly balanced and logical speech. Most animals thrive in an appropriate and perfectly balanced environment. Severely damaged. Severely damaged. To do a lot of damage to something. Oranges and pears are severely damaged by insect and fungus pests. The main thermal power station in the area has been severely damaged. Bitterly disappointed. Bitterly disappointed. Dissatisfied with someone or something. We were bitterly disappointed to see that my suggestions had been ignored. Just the whole process has left us feeling disgusted and bitterly disappointed. Deeply shocked. Deeply shocked. Feeling very upset or surprised. This latest episode in the fraud scandal has deeply shocked a lot of people. The enormity of the crime has deeply shocked even experienced policemen. Bitterly resentful. Bitterly resentful. To feel angry or upset about a situation. She was bitterly resentful of anybody's attempts to interfere in her work. It's counterproductive to be too tough. It just makes the staff bitterly resentful. Highly regarded. Highly regarded. Thought to be very good by many people. Reading is highly regarded as an essential source of knowledge and information. He is highly regarded as one of the most significant physicists of the 20th century. Strongly opposed. Strongly opposed. Disagreeing strongly with something. We are strongly opposed to the presence of foreign troops in this region. The new change is strongly opposed by many of the town's business leaders. Widely accepted. Widely accepted. Generally agreed to be satisfactory or right. Mr. Morgan has offered his resignation, and it has been widely accepted. Fewer than 7% of asylum seekers are widely accepted as political refugees. Bitterly humiliated. Bitterly humiliated. Feeling very sorry and embarrassed. He just bitterly humiliated her in front of everyone. It was so unnecessary. The thief had been assaulted and bitterly humiliated in front of the public. Seriously hurt. Seriously hurt. Upset or a feeling of great unhappiness. Yasin had seriously hurt himself while trying to escape from the police. A lot of businesses are being seriously hurt by the current high interest rates. Strongly advised. Strongly advised. A recommendation about what should be done. In most cases, a purchaser will be strongly advised to consult a solicitor. Fans were strongly advised to take shelter in the hall until the storm passed. Firmly believed. Firmly believed. To have strong confidence or faith. It is firmly believed that the amendments will streamline the legal process. They firmly believed ancient Greece and Rome were vital sources of learning. Truly appreciated. Truly appreciated. Highly valued or esteemed. Thank you for giving us your sincere condolences. It is greatly appreciated. It is truly appreciated when someone performs an act of kindness on the streets. Highly contagious. Highly contagious. Transmissible by direct or indirect contact. The new disease was a threat to public health and was highly contagious. A positive attitude will have positive results. Attitudes are highly contagious. Strictly forbidden. Strictly forbidden. Not allowed according to the law. Workers in the emergency services are strictly forbidden from striking. Any form of hunting or fishing within the wildlife reserve is strictly forbidden. Deeply affected. Deeply affected. Have an influence on someone or something. More than 7 million people have been deeply affected by drought. The food chain is deeply affected by the overuse of chemicals in agriculture. Highly dependent. Highly dependent. Decided or controlled by something else. A country's sustainable growth is highly dependent on healthy exports. Our local economy is highly dependent on oil, coal, and gas extraction. Closely associated. Closely associated. In a way that is directly connected. Smoking is closely associated with several diseases, including lung cancer. As evident from this description, warfare was closely associated with religion. Vividly illustrated. Vividly illustrated. Produced with extravagance and profusion. The article vividly illustrated the gap between rich and poor countries. This new tendency is vividly illustrated by our national security debates. Thoroughly spoilt. Thoroughly spoilt. Diminish or destroy the value or quality of. The presence of some uncontrollable children thoroughly spoilt the evening. The dignity of the occasion was thoroughly spoilt when she fell down the steps. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. To suggest that a person should do something. It is highly recommended to read the book before seeing the movie. Passengers are highly recommended to arrive at the airport in the early hours. Deeply offended. Deeply offended. To be upset or to hurt the feelings of someone. Her outrageous behavior at the party deeply offended every person. The survey found 90% of people were deeply offended by swear words. Highly controversial. Highly controversial. The subject of intense public argument. We tried to avoid highly controversial topics such as politics and religion. As a highly controversial public figure, he has breasted much hostile criticism. Utterly devastated. Utterly devastated. Feeling extremely shocked and sad. We are all utterly devastated by the tragic news which we received today. The earthquake utterly devastated the town's life and left thousands homeless. Completely exhausted. Completely exhausted. Severe condition without any power or energy. The troops were completely exhausted after weeks of combat in the front line. When the whistle blows, I'm completely exhausted, both physically and mentally. Completely different. Completely different. Not the same as someone or something. If Alex had known he had a son, things would have been completely different. The two companies look alike, but they are completely different from one another. Densely populated. Densely populated. With a lot of people close together. Nuclear waste should never be transported through densely populated areas. Many industrialized and densely populated nations have similar kinds of problems. Heavily indebted. Heavily indebted. Owing gratitude or recognition to another. The heavily indebted pub and restaurant sector is facing a wave of collapses. For her encouragement and support, I am heavily indebted to my wife, Nancy. Readily available. Readily available. Easily available to just about everyone. This product is readily available under many different brand names. The government made readily available funding for clean energy research. Desperately eager. Desperately eager. Wanting very much to do or have something. The child was desperately eager to learn more about the new technology. When my son was 5 years old, I became desperately eager for another baby. Eternally grateful. Eternally grateful. Warmly or deeply appreciative of kindness. I would be eternally grateful if you would keep this matter confidential. She said she was eternally grateful for the support shown by the community. Quite furious. Quite furious. A strong desire to know about something synonym. He was quite furious with himself for letting things get so out of control. The storm approached fast and quite furious, with strong winds and heavy rain. Fiercely competitive. Having a strong desire to compete or succeed. She's fiercely competitive and gets very upset if she loses at anything. The bank has to butter up investors because it is in a fiercely competitive market. Deeply moved. Deeply moved. Having strong feelings of sadness or sympathy. We were deeply moved and grateful for all they had done for the nation. If you are deeply moved, it means that something made you emotional. Quite impossible. Quite impossible. Unable to be done or happen. Some things are so simple that they become quite impossible to understand. It proved quite impossible for the two sides to reach a long-standing agreement. Utterly miserable. Utterly miserable. Extremely unhappy or uncomfortable. He was in charge of our business for 3 utterly miserable years. She's been utterly miserable about her financial situation for a while now. Deeply offended. Deeply offended. Do or say something that upsets someone. His racial comments about minority groups offended many of us. Her outrageous behavior at the party deeply offended every person. Vaguely familiar. Vaguely familiar. Describes action that is unclear. He began talking to a nice woman who seemed vaguely familiar. The facts are vaguely familiar, but there is no means of explaining them. Emotionally involved. Emotionally involved. With the intention of making deep relation. There was no chance of becoming emotionally involved with the group. Try not to become too emotionally involved with the children in your care. Enthusiastically received. Enthusiastically received. A feeling of being very interested or excited. Her heart beat violently when she enthusiastically received the letter. The movie was enthusiastically received by the viewers of all walks of life. Tentatively agreed. Tentatively agreed. In a hesitant or uncertain manner. The two countries tentatively agreed to establish a full diplomatic relationship. He tentatively agreed that something needed to be done about the situation. Sincerely embedded. Sincerely embedded. Stick something firmly within a particular environment. Democratic institutions should be sincerely embedded within civil society. This agreement will be sincerely embedded in a state treaty to be signed soon. Legitimately elected. Legitimately elected. Something is acceptable according to the law. This island is governed by legitimately elected representatives of the people. The president was legitimately elected with a clear mandate to tackle violence. Comparatively limited. Comparatively limited. Not allowed to go above a particular level. A man's life is comparatively limited, but service to the people knows no bounds. Their time was comparatively limited if they were to visit the disputed property. Blissfully ignorant. Blissfully ignorant. State of not knowing about something bad. Many teenagers are blissfully ignorant about the current political system. They remain blissfully ignorant about the dangers of too much air pollution. Absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. Needed to achieve a particular result. We cannot consider this an absolutely necessary relationship under the crisis. Fair competition is absolutely necessary for the healthy growth of the market. Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Something is unlikely to happen. These strategies are highly unlikely to find favor unless the cost is reduced. As with many technological revolutions, we are highly unlikely to be aware of it. Ridiculously expensive. Ridiculously expensive. Something is unreasonable or very surprising. This house is ridiculously expensive. Let's buy another house if you want. Our existing methods of production are ridiculously expensive and inefficient. Bitterly cold. Bitterly cold. Extremely and unpleasantly cold. They can be used for hot or bitterly cold therapy to soothe aches and pains. Sometimes it makes us bitterly cold and wet, and sometimes it makes us warm. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Unreasonable and deserves to be laughed at. The deal seems so attractive it would be absolutely ridiculous to say no. Modern fashion is absolutely ridiculous. Nobody can wear these clothes in public. Entirely unbelievable. Entirely unbelievable. Too dubious or improbable to be believed. I find it entirely unbelievable that people can accept this sort of behavior. The impact of the guiding principle on the new industry is entirely unbelievable. Bitterly disappointed. Bitterly disappointed. Dissatisfied with someone or something. I was bitterly disappointed to see that my suggestions had been ignored. Her decision to cancel the concert is bound to bitterly disappoint her fans. Deeply concerned. Deeply concerned. Worried or nervous feeling about something. She has become deeply concerned with what other people think of her. Both males and females are deeply concerned with child-rearing activities. Heavily built. Heavily built. A large broad body that looks strong. In France and Switzerland, the agriculture industry is now heavily built. Despite all opposition, 2 more nuclear power stations were heavily built. Highly probable. Highly probable. Likely to be true or likely to happen. It is highly probable that she might change her mind at the last minute. It was highly probable that she would not attend her ex-fiancé's wedding. Fully aware. Fully aware. Having knowledge or perception of a situation. The couples were well aware of just what their roles were in the relationship. We should be fully aware of the importance of protecting the environment. Totally inexperienced. Totally inexperienced. Having little knowledge or experience. This matter is too significant to be left on a totally inexperienced player. The path will become dangerous, especially for totally inexperienced walkers.